morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back, both from the coffee break and from the gap that we've had since the last user conference. It's great to be here. It's a great venue, and hopefully we've got some features to show you today. To start out is a question. Can anybody identify the item on the right? This was a gamble. Ian? No? Yes, somebody has said it?
HAL.
Correct. HAL. You know the model number?
HAL 9000.
It is HAL 9000. You're on your way to a chocolate biscuit. Name the movie? Now, the year of its release is the same as the year of my birth, so go very carefully. Well done, thank you. So that was about AI, or artificial intelligence. And that's an act of fiction, that's an item of fiction, whereas we're going to talk initially about AI in priority. And in this presentation, we're going to look initially at customization, then at personalization, and then at some automation in the AI section, before we then move into the more general features. Okay, for new priority hosted cloud customers, we've brought in some technology to help with the onboarding of new clients. Rather than being presented with a blank system, the first point of use of the system, the user's presented with some questions, some questionnaires that you populate. So it could be bank account information, it could be customer information, and questions like, do you use warehouses, do you have budgets, do you have cost centers? And based on that, the system will create an environment, a workspace, desktop shortcuts, actions, and so on, so that you can immediately start to use the system effectively. As you progress through that, it moves on to personalization. And in here, the system monitors what you do, which functions you use, which buttons you press, which forms you use. And it will make suggestions. So would you like me to put a shortcut to this on your desktop? Would you like me to make this an action? And that then will help configure the system to your own personal workflow. Also, items that you don't use, so this form, this subform, this field, the system will suggest, should I hide this for you? So it means that over time, naturally, the system molds itself into your workflow and to the items which you use most frequently. Obviously, you can still go in and customize it yourself. This is just an easy way of doing that. The final stage is automation, and this is where we can affect how the system performs certain repetitive tasks. So I'll just switch now to live, as that's the easiest way to show you this. Do love a live section of a presentation. Okay, so I'm hoping, yes, lovely. Okay, so I've just set up a few desktop shortcuts to illustrate some of these new features. The first one we're going to talk about is the automation toolbar. It used to be accessed via the design toolbar, but now if we open up one of these forms, you'll see we have a new button here, a robot, which is the automation button. And in here resides the access to macros, to business rules, and to autofill rules. Also, the user interface has been neatened up. So if I was recording a new macro, simply move down to record macro, click it, give it a name, and then we're off to start recording, as you're familiar with. Now, at version 22, there is a development of the macro. Previously, as you recorded a macro, you had to stay within the same form. So you could move around the form, copy fields, paste fields, whatever you want to do. A new and very useful development is the ability in macros to go across forms. And this particular example demonstrates it perfectly, because we've got a blanket sales order open for a number of items. So I'm going to have to go through the repetitive task of moving down or navigating down to the order number, copying the order number, opening up a new sales order, paste the blanket order number into the sales order, and move down into the subform. I can't take credit for this because Cherry did it for me, but thank you, Cherry. But let's run it and you get the idea. So into automations, there's a macro stored here, which is open sales order from blanket sales order. I'll click it, let go. You'll see it goes down, copies it, opens in sales order, and nothing has happened. So I'll just do it again. I'll just do it once more. Yes, it's done it now. See, it's just keep you on your toes. We're on it. If it was much smoother, you see, you'd think it was a video and you wouldn't believe me. So I just threw that one in there just to test you. Okay, so it's a really useful feature because you can have it open up other forms and populate them automatically. So that was macro. And on here now, if you were defining a business rule, then you can see we've got one here, which is a very simple rule, which is if the value of contact is blank, display an error message. So this business rule is just ensuring that a contact is entered in the sales order. Okay, and we also have an autofill rule here. And this rule has been defined to populate the date field with the due date as being the end of next week. So if we click on the follow-up, you'll see that the due date automatically has been set to the 22nd. Okay, so those are some of the automation improvements. Okay, now I'm going to look at a really useful new feature. So I've got a sales order. Let's say I want to search for a list of different sales order items. Now I've got some stored in a little spreadsheet here. So let's pick that one. So what I want to do is actually copy these numbers into the search field. So let's just do a advanced search. I'm looking for order number. Tab back to my spreadsheet. So now what we can do is select a range of data. So I'm going to grab this one, move it down, copy that data, and we can now paste this directly into the search field. Okay. Some approving nods there from the crowd. They like that. They like that. Do I like that? And the other new feature is that you can add or append to that list. So we can grab the next section, let's say the confirmed items, clear the search box, paste them in. Ooh, that was a proper okay, and then we can execute the search, and it returns those values. So that's really, it's not just in the search, the sales order box, it's in any of the fields, the copy and paste functionality into the search box, really useful. Okay, let's now look at some new report dialog functionality. So that's come out of this. Let's run a report. So if I'm going to run, let's say, orders per customer report, there's now a new dialog box, and you'll see down here we've got a tab for saved reports. So you can store saved reports in the dialog, and a really useful feature is that you can block deletion. So for balance sheet reports or P&L, it's really handy to be able to block deletion from those so they stay as saved reports on that dialog. And that applies across all dialog windows. Okay, we're one page in and only one mistake, so we're doing all right. All right, onto some new functionality in the form of digital approval. We've always had the method for purchase order approval. That's now been extended and now applies to sales orders, to price quotations, and to engineering change orders. So let's have a little look at how that would work. I'm going to open up a new sales order for outdoor events. Okay, notice it put the due date in as next week. Are you paying attention there? There will be a short written test at the end of this presentation. And I'm going to add an order for an adult bounty castle. Just one of those. Okay. And I now seek approval for that sales order. So if I go into the bit that's covered up by my notes, which is pending authorization, that now has, because I've selected that status, you'll see now on the authorized tab that I'm able to authorize up to £1,000. If it goes above that, then it's Cherry. If it goes above that, then it's the big boss, Christine. So I'm going to authorize it. You'll see now that that's now confirmed. And let's have a look. The next signature is not required because it's now authorized. Okay. Now let's go a stage further and do the same thing again. So same customer. Okay, and the order items this time, same thing. But this time I'm going to change the quantity to 100. Okay. Change the status to pending authorization. Okay, so the next signature box has changed to me as it did before. So I can go to authorize sales order, authorize it. But what happens this time is that it's still pending authorization, but now you'll see that the authorizer's name has changed to Cherry, and the status has changed to P. So if we look at the dialog, you'll see that the sales order can be fully authorized as a Y, P is partially authorized, blank if it doesn't need to be authorized. X if there's no need for authorization. So how does Cherry know that she has to sign this? Well, the system now can request authorization by email. So let's have a look at the example of the email. So now the system will send Cherry automatically an email with the information on it. I can't show you this live. This is just a little picture because this is in 22.1. So we have it, we're installing it at the moment, but I can't show you. But basically, you would click approve or decline, and the status would change appropriately. Okay. Let's move on to supply chain management. Let's come out of this one. Okay. So if we go into companies now. So if you imagine a scenario where you have serialized parts, but the serialized parts travel in a multi-company environment. There's now support for this. There's a new tick box here. If we click inside it and hit the help, you can see that a check mark in here indicates that the company distributes serialized parts between companies. So company A might be the manufacturer, company B might be the installer or the service company that handles that. Having those serialized means that you've got full traceability across the two companies. I just extend that and show the form help. So you see there is now a standard operating procedure for that. Okay. Okay, more additional functionality now in the part catalogue. So let's go in here, part catalogue, and you'll see that in addition to the previous fields which were available, inventory, open purchase orders, open sales orders, you'll see now that we've got additional fields for open blanket purchase orders, any blanket sales orders, any service calls that will consume parts will also be considered to give us our projected inventory. It is possible to have statuses excluded. So, for example, open purchase orders in draft status, you could choose to have to be ignored, so it wouldn't show up in the totals. The part availability has also been extended to operate by branches, so we could see how many were in each particular branch across the whole company. Okay, let's move into sales. Okay, so now we open up our part catalogue. A new feature in prices is reps commission. So now you could have a commission rate per part from the part catalogue. Now some companies operate in a different manner with tiered commission. This is now supported. If we open up the customer form, there is now a new subform, tiered commission for sales rep. And in here you can see, once again, the commission rate for that, up to that value, and for the other values, so it rising from 2 to 5 and so on. Okay, that's another new feature. Okay, moving on to the rentals module. The rentals module was introduced at version 20 and allows the management of rented parts, as the title suggests. So if we open up a list of equipment available for rent, this is an events company. So down the left, you'll see you have the part number, the serialized part number of the item. That's what the part number, the serial number is here. Its status, is it available, is it rented? And any details about these rentals in the subform. So if we come in here, we can look at the details and see the start date, end date, any document numbers, customers, and so on. That's fine, and obviously you could apply the usual filters and sort to look at that data. But with rentals, it's always easier if you can see that graphically. Those of you familiar with the MRP Gantt chart will recognize this, as there's also a rentals Gantt chart. So let me change the date range. So here you can see that graphically, on the left here we can select the date range. You can change the scale, as in with the production Gantt chart. So down the left you can see we have all the serialized parts. We can filter that list by product. And in here you can see the actual rentals. So the point at which the rental item goes out, the point at which the rental item comes back in. The different colours represent the different statuses of those rental transactions. So we can move around exactly as you do in the production Gantt chart. Okay. And you can change the view settings accordingly, so it could be days, months, hours, whatever suits the particular scenario. Now, these are serialized parts. There may be equipment that goes out with them. So, for example, on these bouncy castles, we need to send out some sandbags to weight the corners. Obviously, you're not going to serialize a sandbag. So there's now a new form, a new report, which is rental items available without serial numbers. So this gives us a visual check. Okay, give it a date range, whether it's a summarized report or a detailed report. So now you can see the date range across the top, and below it you'll start to see a list of the particular items. So the bottom item is a sandbag, and you can see these numbers, and it's color-coded. So when we haven't got any, it's in red. You can see that on the 16th we've got 100 available. I think we pretty much got those available right through. So we have availability. So it gives you a quick visual check that you have non-serialized parts available to rent out. That's brand new. Also in rentals, there's a new feature. And this is where you have a number of items that have been rented out. It's now possible to return items on a single line. So it might be that you've rented out 100 items on one line. There's a new subform now. Choose items to return. Okay, so it allows you to record a partial return of non-serialized parts. You've sent 100 sandbags out, 50 have come back in, then 20, then 10, and so on. So it just gives you an incremental count. Very simple to operate. Just choose item to return. Oops, sorry. Select the item and then add that into the return tab. Okay, there's another new feature in servicing packages. And this is where we can select non-service periods. So for this bouncy castle, it's very busy in January, July, August, September, and December. Just simply tick the box, and that will prevent any service calls being opened in October for that part. Okay, and I need to switch back to the PowerPoint. Bear with me. Okay, super, thank you. Okay, so I wanted to bring this slide up because it is important to understand that the relationship we have with Priority is a very strong one. We listen to our customers, their requirements, their needs, and we regularly have meetings with Priority to relate those requests. In this version, as a result of those requests, there are 49 individual improvements in the system. That's been driven by 287 customer requests, so obviously many customers have made the same request. It is important for you to understand that we do listen. We take seriously that your needs are probably going to be replicated by other businesses, so that's where the focus is of the development. Okay, financials. I ain't going to touch this, and I'm certainly not going to touch it live. There are new features in reconciliation, revenue recognition, click-to-pay payments, and in budgets. The good news is that we have the wonderful Christine with us, who loves finance and has a separate presentation. Is it this afternoon, Christine? Yeah, this afternoon, looking in detail at those items. I might sit in, I won't pretend to know what you're talking about. Similarly, in Priority Mobile, there's new functionality. It's now possible to zoom on the mobile app to see images, and also we've added some new fields to combine summary information. I'm not going to show this in detail because the wonderful James has a dynamic presentation planned for you later on this morning. For those of you that use shipping via Ship Engine, there's now an automatic definition of the paying party. So is the company paying, the customer or the company? And in that scenario, the shipment costs are added automatically. For those carriers that do not have integration, it's also possible to generate a manifest in PDF format to support that. In terms of data in and out, API data for Priority, for some time we've had data in to Priority. But now with webhooks, it means that we have the ability to initiate a transaction within priority and then use the link out to thousands of different packages for that connectivity. Now, this is brand new. If you go and touch the screen, you'll find the ink still wet, because this is version 22.1. It is brand new. We only got the release notes last week, so I've not had a chance to get my hands on it. We're installing it at the minute. But a really interesting feature is this new I button, which applies to a number of fields, and it allows you to produce a customizable summary. So here we've got customers, contacts, and financial parameters that you can edit using the I button. I can't wait to get hold of that. Another new feature is extended help. So if you click in the field, hit the extended help. So now from the menu, you've got access to any videos, standard operating procedures, or frequently asked questions. Once again, that's a great feature. I think we'll demonstrate very well. Now, all of these features are detailed in the release notes for both the new version and previous versions. They can be accessed from our web page. Just go to the support tab and look for the release note information. I've only scratched the surface. Some of them were quite obscure and wouldn't demonstrate particularly well, but please do download them, have a look, and then we can organize the updates. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian. No, where is the... Oh, bit, yeah.